In a land where darkness reigned and the voice of righteousness was nearly silent, one man dared to serve God. Not from the mountaintops, not in open defiance, but in the quiet corners of danger. His name was Obadiah. The story begins in the days of King Ahab, ruler of Israel, a man described in Scripture as the most wicked king to ever sit on the throne. And by his side was Jezebel, a Sidonian princess whose heart burned with hatred for the prophets of God. She had one mission: to wipe out every trace of Yahweh from the land of Israel. Temples of Baal rose high, incense burned to false gods, and the prophets of the Lord were hunted down one by one. The sound of truth was vanishing. The people's hearts had turned cold, and fear ruled the land. But in the midst of this evil empire, inside Ahab's very palace, worked a man who was loyal to the true God. Obadiah, the governor of Ahab's household, a trusted administrator, a man of influence. He had the king's ear, the palace keys, and authority in his hand. Yet within his heart, he carried something even greater: the fear of the Lord. 1 Kings chapter 18 verse 3 says, Obadiah feared the Lord greatly. Even though he lived in the house of wickedness, he never allowed the darkness to drown his light. Every day he walked a dangerous path, serving an evil king while secretly serving a holy God. Imagine the tension. One wrong word, one wrong step, and Jezebel's soldiers could end his life. But faith has a way of finding courage where fear lives. When Jezebel unleashed her fury upon the prophets, Obadiah did something unthinkable. Quietly, carefully, like a shadow in the night, he rescued 100 prophets of the Lord. He split them into 2 groups of 50 and hid them in caves, supplying them secretly with bread and water. While Jezebel's army searched the land, Obadiah risked everything: his position, his comfort, his life, to protect the servants of God. Can you imagine? Every step to those caves was a step closer to death. Every loaf of bread he carried whispered danger. Every jug of water he poured was an act of rebellion against the queen's order. Yet he did it, not for fame, not for power, but because his fear of God was greater than his fear of man. Then came the drought, a judgment upon Israel spoken by the prophet Elijah. 3 years without rain. The rivers ran dry. The land cracked beneath the sun. Even the king's cattle were dying. Ahab sent Obadiah on a mission. Go through the land, the king ordered. Search for grass, that we may save the horses and mules alive. But as Obadiah searched the barren land, he came face to face with the man everyone was hunting, Elijah. Imagine the dust swirling in the wind as the 2 men locked eyes. Elijah! Is it really you, my lord? Obadiah exclaimed, bowing low. Yes, Elijah replied. Go tell your master. Elijah is here. But fear gripped Obadiah's heart. He protested, Have I sinned, that you would deliver your servant to death? For as soon as I tell Ahab, the Spirit of the Lord will carry you away, and he will kill me. Even now, Obadiah's loyalty was torn between duty to the king and devotion to God. But Elijah reassured him, As the Lord Almighty lives, I will surely present myself to Ahab today. So Obadiah, trembling yet obedient, went to tell the king. Obadiah's mission paved the way for one of the most dramatic moments in Scripture, the showdown on Mount Carmel. Because of Obadiah's obedience, Elijah met Ahab, challenged the prophets of Baal, and proved that the Lord alone is God. Obadiah's name might fade into the background after this, but his role was crucial. He was the bridge between the hidden and the revealed, between silent faith and open fire. Without his courage behind the scenes, the stage of Mount Carmel might never have been set. Obadiah never called down fire from heaven. He never stood before crowds. He never shouted from mountain tops. But in the shadows, he served faithfully. He kept the faith alive when others bowed to idols. He risked everything to protect God's people. And sometimes, the greatest heroes are not the ones we see in the spotlight, but those who hold the light in secret places. Lessons from Obadiah's story. 1. You can serve God anywhere, even in a dark environment. Obadiah worked in a corrupt palace, yet remained faithful. God plants his people even in enemy territory. 2. True fear of God brings quiet courage. He didn't need applause. His bravery was born from reverence, not recognition. 3. Small acts of faith can shape great moments of victory. By hiding the prophets, Obadiah preserved the remnant that would carry God's message forward. 4th, obedience often works in the shadows before God reveals his glory. Elijah called down fire, but Obadiah prepared the way. 5. Faithfulness matters more than fame. The world may not remember Obadiah's name, but heaven surely does. So remember Obadiah, the man who feared God quietly, loved him deeply, and served him faithfully, even in the palace of darkness. Because sometimes your quiet obedience is what keeps the flame of faith burning for a generation yet to see God's fire. Thank you for joining us today. Kindly subscribe and come back for more Bible stories.